And now, Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning present Clymer-Sherman Softball play-by-play coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream at channel989.org. This broadcast is presented by Troyer's Greenhouse in Panama, by Whiteland Surveying, Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, Caflisch Pallet and Wood Supply, Triple E Manufacturing, Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning, by Sherman Livestock, and Steve Daniels Electric and Corry. And now let's head to the field for all of the action. And now, Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning present Clymer-Sherman Softball play-by-play coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream at channel989.org. This broadcast is presented by Troyer's Greenhouse in Panama, by Whiteland Surveying, Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, Caflisch Pallet and Wood Supply, Triple E Manufacturing, Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning, by Sherman Livestock, and Steve Daniels Electric and Corry. And now let's head to the field for all of the action.
And welcome into Westfield, New York. Josh Hosier here on the 98.9 Sports Stream for today's Clymer-Sherman versus Westfield softball game, CCAA Division II league matchup here. Game that got started last week before the rain came and forced the postponement of this thing. Taking a look at the standings in CCAA Division II or CCAA 2. Chautauqua Lake, 3 league wins, puts them atop the standings, tied with Clymer-Sherman, who also have 3 league wins. Chautauqua Lake, though, does have 2 losses on the season at 5-2, while Clymer-Sherman stands undefeated at 5-0. Westfield sits in third, 4-3 overall, 3-1 in league, just 1 game back of Clymer-Sherman and Chautauqua Lake. Then it's Casadega Valley at 3-4, 2-3. Maple Grove, Panama at 2-5, 0-3, and Frewsburg at 0-6, 0-4. But when you flip it over and look at the softball standings by class, and this is what's important for the postseason, a little bit different story. Clymer-Sherman, of course, Class D, they lead the way, 5-0, 3-0. Forestville, hot on their trail at 7-0, 4-0. Those 2 teams will be the top teams in Class D this year. Franklinville, 5-4, 3-1, sits in the 3rd spot. Ellicottville, 4-3, 3-1, sits in the 4th spot, and Pine Valley, 4-4, 1-3 in the 5th. North Collins rounds out the field for Class D, 1-10, 0-5. So Clymer-Sherman, the Wolves in the top seat right now for the class, and tied for first in the league. Pretty good start to the season for the Wolves. However, the rain has won more than anybody at this point, and we are going to welcome you into a game that was already started a couple days ago, and we'll get resumed here today. In the game. So far, 3 batters have faced the pitcher, and there were 3 Clymer-Sherman batters. Wagner grounded out, and then Pinzock singled, and then Birch singled, putting runners on 2nd and 3rd after an error allowed both runners to move up. Bodemer will be the batter for the Wolves when we resume here in about 7 minutes' time. The Westfield team now taking the field, and they'll get ready to go. Pitching for them is Gradzinski, and catching Hotchkiss. Here's their lineup. Hitting first and catching, number 11, Hotchkiss. Hitting second and pitching, number 8, Gradzinski. Hitting third and playing third base, number 12, Burgess. Hitting fourth and playing shortstop, number 5, Shoemaker. Hitting fifth, playing left field, number 7, Corbett. Hitting sixth, playing first base, number 10, Smith. Hitting 7th, playing right field, number 6, Weingart. And hitting 8th, playing center field, number 1, Matthews. Flipping it over to Clymer-Sherman's lineup, as we mentioned, 3 of these batters already have been in action in the previous rainout. Hitting first and playing second base is Wagner. Hitting second, playing catcher is Taylor Pinzock. Hitting third and playing third base is Birch. Pitching and hitting fourth is Bodemer. Hitting fifth, playing right field is Kinnell. Hitting sixth, playing center field is Pratt. Hitting 7th, playing first base is Faulkner. Hitting 8th, playing left field is White. And bringing it up, hitting 9th, shortstop, Wiggers. So those are the lineups for today's game. It looks like we're about ready to get the action started here just a little bit early, and that's quite all right with us here on the Sports Stream. As I mentioned, runners on 2nd and 3rd with 1 out here in the 1st. And Bodemer about to step into the box for the Wolves. Bodemer will have the opportunity to try to score some runs here. And she's now in the box, and we're ready to get things underway. First pitch to Bodemer. Outside for ball one. Bodemer, a patient batter. Stepping back into the box now with a 1-0. Here's the pitch. She swings on it back over the pitcher's head. It'll fall in there as the second baseman can't get to it. One run will score. The throw to third will get the runner. Birch picked off at third, but not before Pinzock comes home. Bodemer's single and RBI. So that'll bring up Kennel. Kennel, the right fielder. As Kira takes her first pitch outside, and that'll be called strike on the outside corner. Kira Kennel, 2 out and a runner on first. Here's the pitch to her. Called strike on the inside edge now, and the count is 0-2. Waiting for the pitch now. And flew out to the third baseman to end the inning. So that'll be the end of the first inning. We'll go to a quick word from our sponsors here in the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support of Wolves softball coverage.
Support for coverage on the Channel 98.9 Lictus Oil and Propane Sports Stream is provided by Sherman Livestock at 4150 Sherman Mayville Road. For more information, call 716-499-1362 and on Facebook.
Coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided in part by Whiteland Surveying in Clymer, providing land surveys for Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties in New York and Erie, Warren, and Crawford counties in Pennsylvania. Phone 716-499-8410. Find them online at mwhitepls.com. The Channel 98.9 Sports Stream thanks Whiteland Surveying for their support.
Corry's only locally operated radio station is Channel 98.9. With your Erie weather, your favorite personalities.
Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday.
You see today local news, entertainment, and information around the clock. And Corry's modern rock. Channel 98.9, your one radio station.
And welcome back in here to Westfield, New York. A 1-0 lead for the Wolves of Clymer-Sherman here halfway through the first inning. Catcher Hotchkiss due up for Westfield to get this inning started. First pitch from Bodemer to her. Swung on, sent down the third base line, fielded cleanly there. The throw to first is high and will go out of play. And so that one will be reached by error for Hotchkiss. And with that error, she will be on second for Westfield. Up next, the pitcher, Gradzinski. She was able to get out of that first inning, giving up only 1 run, as Pinzock scored for Clymer-Sherman. Now the runner on second. Here's Bodemer's pitch to Gradzinski. Swung on and missed for strike 1. Gradzinski back in the box now. Here's the pitch. Fouled back over my head for the second strike of the at-bat. So quickly, Bodemer ahead 0-2 here. Here's Bodemer, the pitch. It'll be high for the first ball of the at-bat. And the count is 1-2. Gradzinski trying to advance Hotchkiss. Hotchkiss racing by error on second. Here's the pitch, swung on and missed. And Gradzinski goes down swinging. Quick K there for Bodemer. And next she'll face Burgess, the third baseman. Burgess stepping in with 1 out and 1 on here in the bottom of the first. 1-0 Clymer-Sherman. Strike right down the middle of the plate there from Bodemer. Gets her ahead in the count of 1. And she'll wait for the call from the dugout, check her wristband. And here we go. The 0-1 swung on and foul tipped. And now there's 2 strikes in the at-bat. All right, 0-2 from Bodemer. High for ball 1. And that one ran up on Bodemer. Her delivery actually released the ball just a little bit late, I think, and the ball just ran up right up out of the zone and above the batter's head. Nice snag there by the catcher. And that's Taylor Penzock. Here's the pitch. Fouled back over my head, and the count remains the same. 1-2 with a runner on second and 1 out here in the bottom of the first. Burgess against Bodemer. And here's Bodemer's pitch. Hit back towards the shortstop, fielded cleanly, thrown to first, and the out is made. A ground out to the shortstop, but Hotchkiss does advance to third on that ground out. So that'll bring up Shoemaker, the shortstop, with 2 out and a runner on third. 1-0 Clymer-Sherman here early in this one. Here's the pitch. Called strike. And the count is 0-1. As I mentioned, a very important CCAA Division II game here between the first and second place teams in that division. The 0-1 from Bodemer. High for ball 1. And the count is 1-1 now. The batter, Shoemaker, back in the box. Bodemer checks her wristband, and she comes set. Here's her pitch. Fouled back to the fence. And the count is 1-2. One and two with 2 outs and a runner on third for Shoemaker. Bodemer looking to get out of this first inning without any damage from the error early on that got Hotchkiss aboard. Here's the pitch. Ball is the call. The count goes to 2-2. And as I mentioned, Hotchkiss reached on error. Play from third base to first was overthrown. The third baseman, Birch, overthrew the first baseman, Faulkner, allowing the runner, Hotchkiss, to get aboard. Count is 2-2. Here's the pitch. Fouled off to the right side. And we'll redo the 2-2. Shoemaker steps back in. Bodemer now ready. She'll deliver the 2-2 pitch. Nice rise ball, but gets just a little bit away from her, and the count goes full. Sun shining brightly here in Westfield as we play this first inning. First bit of sun we've had, and it seems like a week. Full count pitch from Bodemer. Fouled back over the backstop, and we'll do it again. Shoemaker not giving up easily here, and Bodemer still coming right at her very aggressively with some pretty solid pitching. Ball back in play now, and we'll wait for the batter to climb back into the box for another full count pitch here with 2 outs and 1 on in the bottom of the first. Bodemer checks her wristband. She's set. Here's the full count pitch. And she will walk the batter. Very close pitch right on the corner, but not quite enough, according to our umpire here today. So that'll bring up Corbett, the left fielder. She'll come in with runners on the corner and 2 outs. She hits in the 5-hole for Westfield. Corbett in the box, and Bodemer's ready. Here's the first pitch to her. Swung on and missed for strike 1. The runner, Shoemaker, advances to second. So now runners on second and third. And the umpire having a chat with the batter. She has a play card on her belt. They're asking her to move it to her wrist. So clarification of the uniform rule here for Corbett, the left fielder. She makes the adjustment to her uniform, and now she'll get her batting gloves back on, and we'll go with the 0-1. And 1-0 Clymer-Sherman here, but 2 runners in scoring position for Westfield as Corbett now back in the box ready to go. Bodemer ahead 0-1. Here's the pitch. Fouled off to the right side, and the count goes to 0-2. The Wolves yet to lose a game in CCAA play or in any play at this point. Trying to keep that going here today. Here's the pitch. Outside from Bodemer, and the count goes to 1-2. And Westfield, well, they've lost a little. They're a very talented team. They don't have all the seniors that they lost last year, but still a very good softball team. 4-3, 3-1 on the season. 1-2 from Bodemer. Here's the pitch. Swung on, hit down the third base line, foul, and it is a foul. Second straight at bat where the Westfield batters really went to battle with Ellie Bodemer. 1-2 remains the count. Bodemer checks her wristband, and now we're going to get ready to see this one. Here's the pitch. Fouled off, and the count remains the same yet again. The Westfield Wolverines trying to even the score here at 1 if they can. Meanwhile, Ellie Bodemer trying to prevent that from happening. A 1-2 pitch from her to Corbett, incoming now. Swung on, hit towards second. It gets past the second baseman into the outfield. That'll score 1. Here's the throw home, and the tag is applied to end the inning. Hotchkiss scores. Shoemaker thrown out by the right fielder, and that'll end the inning. The game now tied at 1 apiece. We'll take a quick word from our sponsor here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in New York at highschoolofficials.com.
Studio B, indie alternative music, SoCal style with me, Dave W. Phillips. New music and artists from around the world. Sundays at 7 p.m., right after the old folks have gone to bed. Right here on Channel 98.9.
It's party time. Woohoo!
Shh, keep it a secret.
Clymer-Sherman softball coverage is brought to you in part by Caflisch, Pallet, and Wood Services in Clymer, a leading provider of new, heat-treated, and recycled pallets and wood services since 1993. Find them online at caflischpallet.com. Phone 716-355-4354.
And welcome back into the 98.9 Sports Stream. Getting ready to get the second inning underway here. And just a little camera reorganization. Apologize for that. Keep getting bounced off the backstop here, so try and get her sorted for you guys. See if that's any better. And we're ready to get this second inning underway. First pitch is called strike one. And Pratt now. That one's a ball. Waiting for the next pitch to Pratt. That one bounces. That'll be ball 2. Gonna move the camera down, folks. Called strike there on the field. Hopefully I can get this camera adjusted. Sorry about that, everyone. Called strike there, and the count is full. Pitch outside for the third ball. That pitch fouled back. And give me just a minute with the camera, folks. Sorry about that. A little technical difficulties here. That pitch is high. And it's 2-2. Pitch called a ball. The count goes full. Ball 4 there, and they'll walk the batter. Really struggling with this camera here, folks. Sorry about that. The throw to first. Runner back in time. One ball, the call. We maybe have something cooking here. There's a ball. Strike call on White. So Faulkner on first. White at the plate. Sorry about that, folks. I think it's about the best we're going to get with the camera right now. She shows bunt, fouls it back. And the count is 2-2. Two the count to White. Pitches outside to load the count. Full count, last 2 pitches. Here's the pitch. Walk the batter. So White now joins Faulkner on the base path. And that brings up Addie Wiggers. Wiggers will step in with 1 out and 2 on here in the second. A 1-1 softball game so far here in Westfield. Wiggers steps in. First pitch to her is a ball. Runners on first and second for Wiggers here. And at the time, the catcher Hotchkiss wants to go talk to Gradzinski. Camera a little better than it was, and that was a little bit of a challenge, so once again, apologize, folks, for that chaos. Got it sorted, and we are back in action here in Westfield. The score 1-1, 1 out. That was Pratt. She was the leadoff batter. Faulkner got aboard by walk, and then White reached by walk as well, and that brings up Addie Wiggers, who's ahead 1-0 in the count, and she'll now step back in. First pitch to her after that is a strike, and the count is 1-1. Wiggers trying to advance Faulkner and White here. Here's the 1-1 pitch. She swings on it, gets a piece of it back towards the pitcher. The pitcher fields it, turns towards third, cannot make that throw in time. then turns to first and makes the throw, but it's too late. Both runners advance. Now there's a runner that scores for Clymer-Sherman, but they've caught a runner in a pickle between second and third. She's going to take off towards third. Here comes the throw. Still haven't got her. And now they'll finally tag White. Wiggers single, scores Faulkner. And then White gets thrown out in a pickle. That'll bring up Wagner at the top of the lineup for the Wolves. Now leading 2-1 with 2 outs here in the second. Wagner steps in. Here's the pitch. Strike 1. Ready for the 0-1 now. Here's the pitch. It's a ball. Runner will move up. That's Wiggers. She'll reach third safely. So now a runner on third with 2 outs for Kelsey Wagner. Wolves leading the way here. Wagner trying to extend that lead. She gets a nice piece of that to left center. It'll fall in and score a run. And she'll turn for second. Here's the throw coming in. It's going to be cut off, and Wagner's down in the dirt. Safe. Nice RBI double there by Wagner. And that will extend the lead for the Wolves. Really nice piece of hitting there by Wagner, helping the Wolves extend the lead. And now Taylor Pinzock will come up to bat for the Wolves. She had a single in the first, ended up scoring. First pitch to her is a ball. So, again, her at-bat happened a week ago, even though it was just an inning ago. As 3 batters did face Westfield in the first before the game rained out last week. That pitch a ball as well, so the count goes to 2-0. Pinzock did single in her first at-bat last week. And then a single from Birch advanced her, and then Bodemer's single scored her. That one was today, though. Third ball there thrown to Pinzock. So she stayed on base for almost a week, but she did get driven home in the first, and now she's trying to get on base here in the second with Wagner on second. Thrown strike there, and the count goes to 3-1. So Wagner's double scored Wiggers. Wiggers was able to score Faulkner prior to that. And a called strike there. Everyone on this side of the dugout thought that was a walk, but not the case. Full count now. Pitch to Pinzock. She swings and misses, and that'll put the inning away for the Wolverines, but not before damage is done by the Wolves. They lead 3-1 going to the bottom of the second here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Clymer-Sherman softball coverage is brought to you in part by Troyer's Greenhouse. Now open for the season Monday through Saturday. Troyer's Greenhouse is located at 1669 Weeks Road, just 2 miles west of Panama. Go Wolves from Troyer's Greenhouse.
School sports are played by humans, coached by humans, and officiated by humans. So the next time you're sitting in the stands at a school athletic event, please remember this and maintain your humanity, especially when it comes to judging and critiquing athletes, coaches, and officials. Please show your fellow humans some respect. They'll appreciate your empathy.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Clymer-Sherman softball coverage is brought to you in part by Triple E Manufacturing and Design. Triple E Manufacturing and Design offers equine products, promotional items, embroidery, and printing services. Located at 117 Osborne Street in Sherman and at tripleemfg.com. Phone 800-295-4282. The Channel 98.9 Sports Stream thanks Triple E Manufacturing and Design for their support.
And welcome back to Westfield, a 3-1 softball game here as the Wolves lead the Wolverines. Second inning for the Wolverines, and leadoff batter for them will be Smith, I'm sorry. First swing from Smith is a strike. So Smith, the first baseman, behind 0-1 now to Bodemer. Bodemer's pitch, swung on, and it's 0-2. And Bodemer has a chance to get ahead quickly here, 0-2. We'll see what she can do with the 0-2 lead. Here's the pitch. Outside for ball one. And the count 1-2. 3-1 the score after a really nice second inning from the Wolves. Trying to get that going defensively as well. And Bodemer will deliver the 1-2. Swung on and fouled off over the visiting dugout. And the 1-2 stands. Bodemer checks her wristband. Now she's ready to deliver the 1-2 pitch. Here it is. Swung on, hit in play, back to second, fielded cleanly, thrown to first, and Smith is retired. A quick out there, and nice play there at second base by Kelsey Wagner. That'll bring up Weingart, the right fielder. She's a lefty. And she gets good contact. She hit me in before the game started while they were doing batting practice. We'll see how she does here in this at-bat with Bodemer. Bodemer's first pitch to her is swung on and missed. Strike one. And I say that kind of flippantly, but she did. They were taking batting practice here behind the backstop where I was setting up, and she did hit me with a swing of the ball, and the ball came my way real quick, but not her fault. Swing and a miss there for Weingart, and it's 0-2. Us media types have to stay out of the way while they're getting warmed up, and I did not do that, so my fault on that one. 0-2 pitch from Bodemer to Weingart. Called ball, and the count goes to 1-2. One out here in the bottom of the second. And a 1-2 count for Weingart. Bodemer ready now. Here's the pitch. Swung on, hit in, play to second base, fielded by Wagner, thrown to first, and that's two away here in the second. Both plays made by Wagner at second base. Center fielder Matthews due up now for Westfield. And Charlie Matthews wears number 1. She steps in. Bodemer ready to pitch to her. Here's the first. Called strike. 2 outs here for Westfield in the bottom of the second. Matthews, the 8-hole hitter. Here's the pitch. Called ball. Strike call there, and the count goes to 1-2. A 1-2 pitch, called ball, and the count goes to 2-2. Called ball there, and the count goes full to Matthews. 2 outs, full count. Payoff pitch from Bodemer incoming. She checks her wristband, and here it comes. Swung on, hit in play, back to Bodemer. She fields it, throws to first in time, and the side is retired. 1-2-3 inning for the Wolves, and we'll take a quick word from our sponsor here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
I love playing sports, especially for my school. And that's because school sports are special. It's where it's safe to fail. It's where we're taught resilience, where our fear becomes confidence. It's where we learn to get back up after every fall. School sports are where 7.8 million students go from I can't to I can.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Support for this broadcast on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided by Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, serving the Wolfpack listening area and all of Chautauqua County with real estate services for buyers, sellers, vacation rentals, and all relocation needs. For more information on how to get your move going, Tina can be reached at 716-397-7790.
Where do my friends and other students find their voice? We find our voice through the performing arts, along with millions of other high school students. By expressing yourself in a role on stage, through an instrument, or at the debate podium, the performing arts give us freedom to find ourselves, to find our place. The stage is where I can play, perform, and compete with my friends.
And welcome back to Westfield, a 3-1 softball game. The Wolves up to bat here to start the third inning. First pitch, and Birch gets a piece over the shortstop's head. It'll fall in for a base hit. And just like that, there's one aboard for the Wolves. Nice lead off there, and now Ellie Bodemer up to bat. Here's the first pitch. She fouls it off. Burchanowski aboard. Burchanowski's had a really good game so far. Single in the first, single in the third. There's a strike to Bodemer. So Bodemer going to try and move Burchanowski from first here. Ball call. Burchanowski thought about it, but no. 1-2 the count. Here's that pitch. Called strike 3 there. Bodemer goes down looking. That'll bring up Kennel. 1 on and 1 out here in the third. Burchanowski watching from first base. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed by Kennel. Burchanowski takes off for second, and they say she's safe there. The Westfield dugout did not agree, but in the end, not their call. 0-1 the count to Kennel. Now with Burchanowski in scoring position. Here's the pitch. Ball is the call, as it was down at the batter's feet. And the count goes to 1-1. Kira Kennel waits the 1-1 pitch. She gets a piece back towards short. Fielded cleanly, throw to first, and that is in time for the second out of the inning. Burchanowski smart, not getting too far off second there, not making herself the target from the shortstop. And that'll bring up Pratt, the center fielder. Alyssa will have a chance to drive in the run. First pitch is a ball to her. Faulkner on deck. Pratt awaiting the pitch. Outside for ball 2. So Burchanowski reaches by single, steals second. Bodemer strikes out, and Kennel grounds out. That leaves us with Pratt here, ahead 2-0. Swings on that one, gets a piece of it towards right field. Right fielder coming on strong and makes the catch to end the inning. Nice play there by the right fielder of Weingart, who was the last batter in the previous inning. 3-1 still the score. Wolves lead. A quick word from our sponsors here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support of Wolves softball coverage.
Support for coverage on the Channel 98.9 Lictus Oil and Propane Sports Stream is provided by Sherman Livestock at 4150 Sherman Mayville Road. For more information, call 716-499-1362 and on Facebook.
Coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided in part by Whiteland Surveying in Clymer, providing land surveys for Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties in New York and Erie, Warren, and Crawford counties in Pennsylvania. Phone 716-499-8410.
And welcome back to Westfield. Bottom of the third inning here. First pitch from Bodemer is a ball. And Molly Burgess, the second Burgess of the game for Westfield, ahead 1-0 here in the third. Second pitch from Bodemer, swung on and missed, and the count goes to 1-1. Burgess, the second baseman, waits for the pitch from Bodemer. Here it is, swung on and missed, and the count goes to 1-2. Ellie Bodemer working very fast, a 1-2-3 inning in the second. And so far here, quickly ahead 1-2 to Burgess. Here's the pitch. Fouled back, count remains the same. So a couple girls in a row back in the first ran Bodemer to full count and fouled off a bunch of pitches. That was Shoemaker and Corbett, the 4-5 hitters. Since then, she's been pretty lights out. We'll see what she does here ahead 1-2. Bodemer ready now. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, and she'll sit down Burgess with the strikeout. Back to the top of the lineup for Westfield. Hodgkiss, who reached on error back in the first, will have her second try here in the third. She reached on an error and overthrow from the third baseman. Here's the pitch. High for ball one. Here's the pitch. Swung on, fouled off to the right side. Waiting for everyone to get back set again. Here we go. The pitch from Bodemer. Call the ball. Hodgkiss trying to get some offense going for the Wolverines. She steps back in now. Bodemer checks the wristband. Here's the pitch. Called strike. So a 2-2 count now for Hodgkiss. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled off to the right side. So Burgess able to make her at bat last a little longer, and now Hodgkiss doing the same thing. Bodemer facing some longer at bats again, like she did in the first. She'll try to power through here with a 2-2 count. Here's the pitch. High, and that's going to be ball three. Count now full to Hodgkiss. So now the full count. One out here in the third for Westfield. Here's the pitch from Bodemer. Swung on and fouled off back towards the home dugout. We'll do it again. Full count, payoff pitch from Bodemer. She comes home with it, swung on and fouled off all the way down the left field line. Hotchkiss continues to battle. And now we'll see the 8th pitch of the at-bat. And a ball. She'll walk on the 8th pitch. And a runner aboard now for Westfield as their pitcher, Gradzinski, steps in. 1 out and 1 on for Gradzinski. 3-1 Wolves here in the 3rd. Here's the pitch. Swung on, popped up towards the visitor dugout and caught in the dugout, not by a player. And that'll just be a high strike for Gradzinski. Clymer-Sherman coaching staff making a real nice catch there in the dugout. And it's 0-1 for Gradzinski. Here's the pitch. She swings and misses. And it's quickly 0-2. Hotchkiss took a look at second but thought better of it as the ball quickly made its way home. And catcher Taylor Pinzock was ready to fire if need be. So 0-2. Let's see what Bodemer can do here with this nice lead in the pitch count. Here's the pitch, swung on, hit high in the infield, and charging after it and making a really nice play is Kelsey Wagner. Two outs now in the 3rd. And Burgess, the third baseman Burgess, is up. That one is, keep my Burgesses straight today. This one is number 12, that's Madison Burgess. First pitch to her is a strike. And Wagner took a weird path to that pop-up, but got there either way and retired Gradzinski. And now it's 0-1 to Burgess. Here's the pitch. Outside for ball 1. So Madison Burgess, the junior, awaiting the 1-1 pitch from Bodemer. Time called. And now Burgess back in the box. Bodemer checks the wristband. There's the pitch. The runner takes off. The throw is very close, but gets through into center field. The runner's safe. A strike was the call. Stolen base for Hotchkiss. And the count 1-2 to Burgess. 2 out, 1 on second, and a 1-2 count. 3-1 the score as the Wolves lead Westfield here in the bottom of the 3rd. Here's the pitch from Bodemer, fouled back by Burgess. And she stays alive for another pitch, just like the previous hitter. So every hitter so far getting a piece of that outside rise ball from Ellie Bodemer, but not enough to put it in play. They keep fouling it off and creating longer and longer at-bats for Bodemer. Unfortunately, she's thrown quite a few pitches. Working hard to get what she's getting done. No pitch counts here in softball, but so many pitches is so many pitches. That one hit in play, gets through to center field, and that'll be a base hit for Burgess. The throw home is fielded, and they got the runner maybe in a pickle here on 3rd. The overthrow at 3rd, and the runner could now go home. They get the ball back in play quickly and hold the runner at 3rd. So Hotchkiss thought about it, but unable to get anywhere after a really nice stop there by Pinzock. Pinzock came over and basically prevented any additional bases for Hotchkiss. So a single from Madison Burgess, and she ends up advancing to second on the pickle play at 3rd. That'll bring up the number 4 hitter, Shoemaker, the shortstop. She walked back in the 1st and then was thrown out going to 3rd on the fielder's choice. Here's the first pitch to her. She swings on and gets a piece of it towards second, and a diving play not made. Comes up short is Wagner. Kelsey Wagner tried to get to that one, just couldn't quite get there. That one will count as a single for Shoemaker. A single that scores Hotchkiss and advances Burgess to third. And the score is now 3-2 with Corbett stepping in for Westfield. 2 outs, runners on the corners, and Corbett in a position to potentially tie the game here. Bodemer's first pitch, strike one. Shoemaker advances to second unopposed. So now runners on second and third. Next pitch to Corbett, fouled back, and the count is quickly 0-2. Count, 2 out, 2 on, and a 3-2 softball game here. Corbett back in the box. Here's the 0-2 pitch. And she swings and misses, and that will end the side. But not before Westfield inches closer. A 3-2 ball game here. We'll head to another word from our sponsors here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing. Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Clymer-Sherman softball coverage is brought to you in part by Troyer's Greenhouse. Now open for the season Monday through Saturday. Troyer's Greenhouse is located at 1669 Weeks Road, just 2 miles west of Panama. Go Wolves from Troyer's Greenhouse.
School sports are played by humans, coached by humans, and officiated by humans. So the next time you're sitting in the stands at a school athletic event, please remember this and maintain your humanity, especially when it comes to judging and critiquing athletes, coaches, and officials. Please show your fellow humans some respect. They'll appreciate your empathy.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Welcome back to Westfield as we get ready to start the fourth inning. 3-2 Wolves here. And due up for the Wolves this inning, Faulkner, White, and Wiggers as Faulkner steps in. And Gradzinski will try to tame the Wolves here in the fourth as her team inch closer with a run in the third. First pitch there, a strike. Nice little ball game developing here. 3-2 the score. Both teams showing the ability to move the ball and move runners around the bases. Faulkner back in the box now behind 0-1. For second, next pitch to her, swung on and missed. And the count is 0-2. The 0-2 to Faulkner, hit in play towards the second baseman, fielded, thrown to first to retire the first batter. That'll bring up White. Bailey White now waiting for the first pitch. High for ball one. Faulkner quickly down on a ground out, and now White ahead 1-0. Swings on that one and misses, and it's 1-1. Addie Wiggers on deck, and then back to the top of the lineup for the Wolves. Catcher sets up outside. Here's the pitch. Called, strike on the outside edge. So the count 1-2 now for Bailey White. Pitch. Inside. Gets away from the catcher. Count goes to 2-2. A 2-2 count for Bailey White. Catcher sets up outside once again. Here's the pitch. Outside to fill the count. And White battling here to a full count. Here's the pitch to White. Outside. She'll get walked on 6 pitches. I give the first runner aboard for the Wolves here in the fourth. That brings up Addie Wiggers, the shortstop. She singled back in the second, and that single was an RBI single that brought home Faulkner. First pitch to Wiggers, a big swing and a miss, and she's behind 0-1. Addie Wiggers now steps back into the box. One out, one on. She shows bunt, lays one down the third base line, but it goes foul on her about halfway down the line. Wiggers has a lot of speed out of the box, and so the bunt attempt there, a smart play, but can't get it down in play, and now she's behind 0-2. Wiggers now ready. Catcher setting up outside again. Called ball, shows the throw for second, but White's not going anywhere, so she'll stay at first, and the count is now 1-2. The 1-2 now to Wiggers. She swings, hits it in play to short, fielded there, the throw to second is in time, the throw to first is not, so Wiggers will reach by fielder's choice, and White is out at second. That'll take us back to the top of the lineup. Kelsey Wagner. She was a ground out in the first a week ago, and then double in the second, which scored Wiggers. She comes up now in the fourth with Wiggers on first. First pitch to her is a ball. And 2 outs and Wiggers on first. A 3-2 ball game as the Wolves try to protect their lead. Wagner swings at the high pitch and cannot get it, so the count is 1-1. Pitch, she fouls off, and the count is 1-2. 1-2 count for Kelsey Wagner. She's made some really nice plays in the field. Missed one where she laid out for a ball and just couldn't quite get to it, just a little bit too far in front of her. Otherwise, she's been really good defensively. She'll face the 1-2. She fouls that one off to stay alive here in the fourth. One thing that CSP Baseball and Clymer-Sherman Softball have in common is really good infield play, especially at the second baseman position. Wagner, the softball second baseman. That pitch is a ball. And second base for CSP, of course, is Johnny Abers, who makes a lot of the same plays that Kelsey is making here on the softball diamond. 2-2 now to Wagner. She swings and misses, and that'll end the side for the Wolves. We'll go to the bottom of the fourth after this word from our sponsors.
I love playing sports, especially for my school. And that's because school sports are special. It's where it's safe to fail. It's where we're taught resilience, where our fear becomes confidence. It's where we learn to get back up after every fall. School sports are where 7.8 million students go from I can't to I can.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Support for this broadcast on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided by Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, serving the Wolfpack listening area and all of Chautauqua County with real estate services for buyers, sellers, vacation rentals, and all relocation needs. For more information on how to get your move going, Tina can be reached at 716-397-7790.
Where do my friends and other students find their voice? We find our voice through the performing arts, along with millions of other high school students. By expressing yourself in a role on stage, through an instrument, or at the debate podium, the performing arts give us freedom to find ourselves, to find our place.
And back here in Westfield, first pitch, swung on, hit to second. Wagner fields it, throws from her knees, and makes the play. Great defensive effort there from Kelsey Wagner. And Smith is out to get the inning started. That'll bring up Weingart. She went down in the second on a ground out. Score 3-2 Wolves here in the bottom of the fourth. 1 out already for Westfield. Here's the first pitch to Weingart, outside for ball 1. Weingart, the right fielder, for the Wolverines. Awaits the 1-0. Here's the pitch from Bodemer. Fouled back, and the count goes to 1-1. A 1-1 count here in the bottom of the fourth with one out already. Bodemer checks the wristband. Now she's ready. She will deliver the 1-1. Swung on, hit in play back towards short. Gets through to the outfield. A base knock for Weingart. Nice little piece of hitting there from the right fielder, and that'll bring up Matthews, the center fielder. Charlie Matthews, the batter. Reagan Weingart on first. One out here in the inning. Shows bunt and bunts that one foul. No further harm there on that bad bunt, so it's 0-1. Here's the pitch to Matthews. She shows bunt again. That one's high. She pulls the bat back for ball one. One the count. One on and one out here in the bottom of the fourth. Showing bunt again. Pulls it back, but strike two the call. So Matthews now behind 1-2. She checks her wristband. Now Bodemer checks hers, and we're ready to go with the 1-2 pitch. Here's the pitch. Swung on. And drop strike three. They'll throw it to third in time. So strikeout for Matthews. Weingart advances to second, and that brings up Molly Burgess, the second baseman, hitting in the 9-hole. So 2 outs now. Runner on second, and Burgess, who struck out back in the third, at the plate. First pitch to Burgess, called strike. The Wolves covering third there, expecting Weingart to potentially try to advance herself, but nothing happening on that play. 0-1 now from Bodemer. She checks her wristband. She's ready to go. Here's the pitch. Fouled back right at the camera, and the count is 0-2. It's a nice little shot on the camera right there. 0-2 now, the count to Molly Burgess. She steps back in behind in the count. And with 2 outs here in the fourth. The pitch from Bodemer. Swung on and fouled back into the fence, and the count remains 0-2. Weingart in scoring position after a single and then a stolen base. I guess she was advanced by the strikeout, drop strike three by Matthews, not a stolen base. The 0-2 to Burgess. Swung on, hit towards second. Wagner can knock it down but can't make a play. And that one is going to advance Weingart to third. We're going to call it a base knock here on the radio. You can argue whether that was an error or not. I don't think it was. Well played there by Wagner, and it took a real hard bounce off the dirt. She was able to knock it down but couldn't field it cleanly. Top of the lineup now for Westfield. Hotchkiss, the catcher. She's got runners on the corners and 2 outs here in the fourth. Her team trailing 3-2. First pitch to her. Swung on right to third base and snagged out of the air. Huge play there from Burchanowski to end the inning. Janelle Burchanowski, what a really nice grab. And the Wolves maintain their lead as we head to 5 here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support of Wolves softball coverage.
Support for coverage on the Channel 98.9 Lictus Oil and Propane Sports Stream is provided by Sherman Livestock at 4150 Sherman Mayville Road. For more information, call 716-499-1362 and on Facebook.
Coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided in part by Whiteland Surveying in Clymer, providing land surveys for Chautauqua and Cattaraugus counties in New York and Erie, Warren, and Crawford counties in Pennsylvania. Phone 716-499-8410. Find them online at mwhitepls.com. The Channel 98.9 Sports Stream thanks Whiteland Surveying for their support.
Corry's only locally operated radio station is Channel 98.9. With your Erie weather, your favorite personalities.
Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday.
You see today local news, entertainment, and information around the clock. And Corry's Modern Rock. Channel 98.9, your one radio station.
Fifth inning here in Westfield as the Wolves lead 3-2 over the Wolverines. Taylor Pinzock stepping in. She'll be the first batter for the Wolves here in the fifth. First pitch is a ball to her. Burchanowski on deck and Bodemer in the hole for Clymer-Sherman as they go 2-3-4 to start this inning. The 1-0 to Pinzock. Called strike one. Pinzock, the catcher today, has been making some really nice plays behind the plate, keeping the ball in play. Had a really nice pickle she created at third. She swings and misses at that one. And the count is 1-2. The pickle she created at third, it was a real nice heads-up thing, and even though the ball got overthrown a couple times over there, she was able to have really good position and keep the runner from going home. Pitch to her is ball 2, and the count is 2-2. Pinzock ready to go. Swings and fouls that one back to keep the count at 2-2. Gradzinski, the pitcher for Westfield, has been working pretty efficiently and trying to keep her team in this game as she trails by 1, 3-2. 2-2 pitch to Pinzock. Hit in play over to short, fielded cleanly the throw to first, just in time, and Pinzock is retired. Burchanowski hitting third in the lineup and second in this inning. Janelle just made a really nice play over there at third. She's got 2 at-bats so far in this game. She's 2 for 2 with 2 singles. We'll see what she can do here in the fifth. First pitch to her is a ball. Burchanowski awaits the 1-0. Swing and a miss there, and the count goes to 1-1. 1-1 count. Pitch is low for ball 2. We mentioned Clymer-Sherman tied for first in the CCAA Division II. They're 5-0, 3-0. Chautauqua Lake 5-2, 3-0. Tied with them at the first place position. There's a piece from Burchanowski over to second base, fielded cleanly, and she's retired. And that's 2 outs now in the fifth for the Wolves, and Ellie Bodemer due up. So Clymer-Sherman and Chautauqua Lake tied for first. Westfield in the second or third spot, depending on how you want to count it, at 3-1 in league and 4-3 overall, making this game very important for both these teams. First pitch to Bodemer is a strike. Chautauqua Lake and Clymer-Sherman did start a game last week and made it all the way to the 9th inning. And there's a ball to Bodemer. In that game, Clymer-Sherman is trailing with the last at bat, and will need to make some magic happen in the last inning to maintain their perfect record. Another pitch to Bodemer is a ball, and the count is now 2-1. She gets a big piece high, and the second baseman calls it, comes in and makes the play, and with that, the side is retired. A 1-2-3 inning there for Westfield, and the score remains 3-2 here Wolves leading going into the bottom of the fifth on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in New York at highschoolofficials.com.
3-2 here in Westfield. The Wolves leading. Westfield due up here in the fifth inning, and they'll be led off by their pitcher, Gradzinski. She's in the 2-hole. Burgess hitting second. That's the third baseman. And then Shoemaker will hit third, the shortstop. Bodemer will pitch to Gradzinski. Swung on, hit to third base, fielded cleanly. The throw to first. Dropped as it came in there, but held on enough for the out. And Gradzinski is retired. So the catch bobbled but retained by Faulkner and good enough to retire Gradzinski. So now Burgess back up. She ground out in the first and singled in the third. And you got to keep the Burgesses correct. There's two of them on this team. That one comes back and hits the fence here. That's Madison Burgess. And the pitch to Burgess. Swung on for a strike. She now trails 0-2. There's a pitch low for a ball, and the count is 1-2. So Burgess trying to will Westfield's tying run aboard. Bodemer trying to prevent it, and here's the 1-2. And that one hit the batter. So the hit by pitch gets Madison Burgess aboard, and the four-hitter Shoemaker due up. She walked back in the first, singled in the third, and now she'll have a runner on with one out here in the fifth. First pitch, a strike to her. The 0-1. Call the ball, and it's 1-1. Burgess thought about going to second, but she was prevented as Pinzock popped up quickly from her catcher position. So 1-1 now the count. One out, one on. The pitch to Shoemaker. Hit toward short, fielded cleanly. The throw to second is in time for the out. And Burgess is out. And Shoemaker reaches on the fielder's choice. So 2 out, 1 on. And Corbett, the left fielder, will be due up. Time is called, though, on the field as the umpire is fixing the dirt around second base. He's happy with it, and now Corbett, the left fielder, can step in. Runner on first. Called strike. 0-1 is now the count. Ariel Corbett, the junior, steps back in. She's the 5-hitter. Here's the pitch. She swings on it and fouls it off to the left side. Count is now 0-2. Shoemaker, the runner, she reached by fielder's choice. Burgess, the previous runner, was hit by a pitch and then thrown out at second. So the count 0-2, and Bodemer trying to get out of the fifth. The pitch is hit towards second. It will get through, and that'll be a base hit. The runners will reach the corners. That ball's knocked down. Here's the throw to the plate. No, it will get held up by Bodemer, and a run will score. That's going to be Shoemaker. And the single scores one and ties the game. Avery Smith due up now for Westfield in the tie game. Corbett now on first with 2 outs and 1 in. The pitch swinging strike for Smith. Smith grounded out back in the second and the fourth. And with 1 on and 2 outs and 1 in here in the fifth, Westfield has evened the score at 3 apiece. There's a nice piece hit through the infield on the right side. That'll be in there for a base hit. The runner turns to go to third. There's the throw. It's in time. And the runner is retired. That's Corbett. The single by Smith does not help Westfield any more than they already were, but the score is now tied 3-3. And we'll kick a quick word from our sponsors here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Clymer-Sherman softball coverage is brought to you in part by Troyer's Greenhouse. Now open for the season Monday through Saturday. Troyer's Greenhouse is located at 1669 Weeks Road, just 2 miles west of Panama. Go Wolves from Troyer's Greenhouse.
School sports are played by humans, coached by humans, and officiated by humans. So the next time you're sitting in the stands at a school athletic event, please remember this and maintain your humanity, especially when it comes to judging and critiquing athletes, coaches, and officials. Please show your fellow humans some respect. They'll appreciate your empathy.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Clymer-Sherman.
Now we welcome you back into Westfield. A tie game here in the 6th inning. First pitch there to Kennel. And now she's back in the box. She swings and fouls that one back. Got over the backstop once it hit it. Shout out to the CSP track team in Clymer today, hosting Randolph in a big contest there. Hope things are going well for the track and field athletes. And the bunt goes foul. 1-2 is the count to Kennel. Kennel grounded out back in the first and grounded out as well in the third. So 0-2 on the day for her, but a chance to try to get a runner aboard for the Wolves. She swings and gets a piece of that one towards right field. 3 fielders converging and no one gets the ball. She gets past first. She's going to get to second. And the ball is overthrown and she will think better of going to third. But Kennel reaches on a nice single. 3 fielders converging on it. The second baseman called everybody else off and then missed the ball. So now Pratt with a runner on second here in a tie game. And Alyssa, so far today, strikeout back in the second and a fly out in the third. She lays down a bunt, but it goes foul. With a runner in scoring position in a tie game here in the 6th, Alyssa Pratt with the opportunity to try to help the Wolves retake the lead. She shows bunt again, lays another one down foul, and now she's behind 0-2. So now being down 0-2, you think she'll have to swing Catcher sets up way outside. She does swing, and she strikes out. And that'll bring up Faulkner. Harley Faulkner. So far today, a walk back in the second and a ground out in the fourth. First pitch to her, she swings on and snagged by the second baseman. And the second baseman gets it over to second in time to retire Kinnell. So 3 up, 3 down for the Wolves, and this tie game goes to the bottom of the sixth, 3-3. Another quick word from our sponsor here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support of Wolves softball coverage.
Support for coverage on the Channel 98.9 Lictus Oil and Propane Sports Stream is provided by Sherman Livestock at 4150 Sherman Mayville Road. For more information, call 716-499-1362 and on Facebook.
Coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided in part by...
And welcome back to Westfield. A tie ball game here. And we've reached the bottom of the sixth. Weingart's first pitch to her. She fouls off deep to the left side. And Weingart, her single back in the fourth, and a ground out back in the second has been her story so far. The 0-1 to her. Bodemer checks the wristband. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed, and the count goes to 0-2. So Shoemaker scored back in the fifth to tie this thing up. And then the Wolves go 1, 2, 3. Well, they get 3 outs quickly here in the sixth, the top of the sixth. The 0-2. Called strike 3. A nice strikeout there by Ellie Bodemer, and that'll bring up the 8-hitter Matthews. Bodemer showing that the mess that happened in the last inning did not shake her confidence. She hit a batter, and then had a fielder's choice, and then gave up 2 singles to allow the game to be tied. Hit there to second base, fielded cleanly and thrown to first. That is a quick out for Matthews. Great play there again at second base by Kelsey Wagner. Molly Burgess now due up for Westfield. She struck out in the third and singled in the fourth. Bodemer ready to pitch to her. Here's the first. Called strike. And the count goes to 0-1. We'll wait the next pitch from Bodemer here with 2 down in the bottom of the sixth. Here's the pitch. Swung on and fouled off. Oh, 2 now the count. Tomorrow, well, let's get this pitch first. 0-2. Here's the pitch. Swung on, fouled back. Tomorrow, catch the 98.9 Sports Stream at a varsity baseball game versus Casadega Valley, a 5 p.m. start in Sherman, assuming that one doesn't get canceled. And then Thursday, we're planning on being at a varsity softball doubleheader against Chautauqua Lake. That's that game that was partially finished, and then another one. Here's the pitch. Hit in the infield is going to get through to center field. A base hit by Molly Burgess. And Westfield has a runner aboard for their number 1 hitter, the catcher Hotchkiss. So yes, baseball tomorrow versus Casadega. Softball Thursday at Chautauqua Lake, a doubleheader, starting at 4:30 on Thursday. So catch us there at both those games. Here's the pitch. Strike 1, the call. So Bodemer got the first 2 batters quickly and then gives up the single to Burgess. Now she faces Hotchkiss, the number 1 hitter. The 0-1-2 Hotchkiss. Called strike, and the count goes to 0-2. Three in the bottom of the sixth. 2 out, 1 on, and an 0-2 count to Hotchkiss. Bodemer checks her wristband. Here's the pitch. Called strike 3, and she ends the inning with some pretty solid pitching. And we'll go to the 7th with a 3-3 ball game. Here's another quick word from our sponsors here on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning are the premier sponsors of Clymer-Sherman softball coverage on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Located at 147 East Main Street in Corry, they offer residential and light commercial new services, as well as electrical repairs, well pumps, and water conditioning systems. Phone 814-665-6034. Online at flicksheatingplumbingandac.com. We thank Steve Daniels Electric and Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning for their support.
Man, I loved playing high school sports growing up. And it's fun being a fan now, don't get me wrong, but sitting in the stands feels like I'm missing out on all the action, you know? I wanted to get back in the game, so I signed up to be a high school official. It takes me back to my playing days. I'm supporting students, and I get paid to make the big calls. Do you want to see the game up close? Sign up to become an official in New York at highschoolofficials.com.
Studio B, indie alternative music, SoCal style with me, Dave W. Phillips. New music and artists from around the world. Sundays at 7 p.m., right after the old folks have gone to bed. Right here on Channel 98.9.
It's party.
And welcome back to Westfield, where we have a 3-3 softball game at the top of the 7th inning. Due up for the Wolves, White, Wiggers, Wagner. That's the 8-9-1 hitters for the Wolves as they try to forge back ahead here in the 7th. They led until the 5th inning when Shoemaker was able to tie the game for Westfield. And here will be the first pitch to Bailey White. Called strike on the top half, and the count is 0-1. So a 3-3 ball game between a first and second place team here in CCAA Division II. Pitches a ball. The other team in the top 3 there in that 3-way kind of tie at the top is Chautauqua Lake. That's the game we'll be at on Thursday. That pitch is also a ball, and the count is now 2-1. White trying to get the Wolves started here in the 7th. The 2-1 to her. Outside for ball 3. And a 3-1 count now for White. Have to assume maybe the red light on here. See if they can get her walked. And they do. So White's walked to start off the 7th. That'll bring up Addie Wiggers, the shortstop. Addie had a single in the 2nd. Reached by fielder's choice in the 4th. And now she'll have a chance here in the 7th with a runner on first. First pitch, she takes a huge cut, but comes up empty. Strike 1. Wiggers back in the box now. She shows bunt, lays one down, but it goes foul. And now she's behind 0-2. And we mentioned in our last at bat, Wiggers very quick out of the box, so her laying down a bunt makes a lot of sense. But behind 0-2, you have to assume that they're going to haul off the bunt here. Here's the pitch. She swings, gets a piece of that one. It's going to get through to the outfield, hops off the diamond, and that single will advance the runner. White to second. And put 2 on for the top of the lineup for the Wolves. Kelsey Wagner due up. And time is called. And maybe a pitching change coming for Westfield. Gradzinski quickly lets 2 on with a tie game here in the 7th, and they're going to address that by bringing the entire team into the pitching circle. That single by Wiggers could have been a lot worse as it caught that lip coming out of the infield and popped up in the air, and it really could have took off and got over the left fielder's head. Lucky for Westfield, it fell just in front of her, and they were able to recover without giving up any more damage. Still talking on the mound. The circle. And they now broke their conference. Gradzinski will remain the pitcher with 2 on, and the top of the lineup coming up for the Wolves. So Kelsey Wagner, ground out in the first, doubled in the second, struck out in the fourth. Now here in the 7th, she has 2 aboard in a tie ball game. Wagner ready to go. Gradzinski ready to go. And let's get back to the action here in this exciting CCAA2 matchup. First pitch is called strike. Wagner back in the box. She shows bunt, lays one down, but it goes foul. So the count now 0-2. So bunt attempt there comes up short, as did Wiggers in the previous at bat. So now an 0-2, just like Wiggers. Let's see what she can do with it. She swings and fouls that one off back to the fence. And the count remains 0-2. 0-2 here in the top of the 7th, 3-3 ball game, no outs. Runners on first and second, and Kelsey Wagner battling in this at bat. That's a called strike 3, and Wagner will sit down for the first out of the inning. That'll bring up Taylor Pinzock, the catcher. She singled back in the first, struck out in the second, and ground out in the 5th. First pitch to Pinzock. She swings on it, hits it to right field. It's going to be caught there for the out, and quick move into the infield prevents any runners from advancing. Second out of the inning that quick. And now it's 2 on and 2 out for Janelle Burchanowski. Burchanowski singled in the first and the third and then ground out in the 5th. She comes up now with 2 outs in the 7th and a chance to try to extend to get the Wolves the lead back. First pitch to her is high for ball 1. Burchanowski steps back in this very important position. That pitch is a called strike, and the count goes to 1-1. And give Gradzinski some credit. She's battled back. She let the first 2 batters aboard on a walk and a single, and then she struck out one and got one to fly out to get herself into this situation. Nice piece there by Janelle Burchanowski into right field. That will score a run and give the lead back to the Wolves. A single from Burchanowski, and the Wolves retake the lead. Janelle Burchanowski comes through in the clutch and gives the Wolves the lead back. They lead 4-3, and Addie Wiggers over there on third base as Ellie Bodemer has a chance to score another run and protect herself a little bit more here. 2 outs, runners on the corners for Bodemer here in the top of the 7th. First pitch to her is a strike. Burchanowski takes off for second. She's there. Now runners on second and third for Bodemer. Gradzinski trying to get out of the 7th without any more damage. That pitch is called ball 1. And it's 1-1 now to Bodemer. Bodemer would like to give herself a little more than 1 run protection going into the bottom of the 7th, so she will try to extend here. That pitch outside and fouled off. Bodemer just caught a little bit of that on the tip of the bat, and the count is now 1-2. Here's that pitch. Outside, a ball gets past the catcher, a run will score. Heads up play by Wiggers to get home and extend the lead. Burchanowski moves over to third and puts herself in scoring position. And Bodemer now faces 2-2 with 2 runs in here in the inning. A 5-3 lead for the Wolves. Not done yet. Bodemer faces the 2-2. Here's the pitch. She swings on it. Hits it to center field, and it's caught there by the center fielder. Really nice play, and the side is retired. But not before the Wolves re-extend their lead to 5-3, and we'll go to the bottom of the 7th when we come back on the 98.9 Sports Stream.
I love playing sports, especially for my school. And that's because school sports are special. It's where it's safe to fail. It's where we're taught resilience, where our fear becomes confidence. It's where we learn to get back up after every fall. School sports are where 7.8 million students go from I can't to I can.
This message presented by NISFA and the New York State Athletic Administrators Association.
Support for this broadcast on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream is provided by Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, serving the Wolfpack listening area and all of Chautauqua County with real estate services for buyers, sellers, vacation rentals, and all relocation needs. For more information on how to get your move going, Tina can be reached at 716-397-7790.
And welcome back to Westfield. Bottom of the 7th coming up, a 5-3 lead for Clymer-Sherman as they were slowly had given up that lead. The lead they had early 3-1 and then gave up 2 runs to Westfield to let the thing get tied up at 3. But they have battled back here in the top of the 7th and re-extended that lead to 5-3. And due up for Westfield will be their 2-3-4 hitters, Gradzinski, Burgess, and Shoemaker. Gradzinski stepping in now, struck out in the first, flew out in the third, and ground out in the 5th. Gradzinski, the pitcher for Westfield. First pitch to her is a ball. And the bottom of the 7th is underway. Ellie Bodemer trying to put this thing away for the Wolves and keep them undefeated. Here's the pitch. Swung on and missed. And the count goes to 1-1. A 1-1 count to Gradzinski. Here's the pitch. She swings on it, hit toward short, fielded there by Wiggers. The throw to first is in time, and the first out of the inning. Nice play there at short by Wiggers. And that'll bring up Burgess, the third baseman. She ground out in the first, singled in the third, and was hit by a pitch back in the 5th. She steps in with one out here in the bottom of the 7th, trailing 5-3. First pitch to her is a ball up high. And Madison Burgess waits the 1-0. Here's the pitch from Bodemer. Called strike, and the count is even now at 1-1. Wolves showing toughness, battling back in the top of the 7th to retake the lead. And now Bodemer with a 1-1 pitch. Burgess gets a piece, flow up, and Bodemer is going to make the catch herself. Fly out to the pitcher, and there's now 2 away for Westfield in the bottom of the 7th. Shoemaker, the 4-hitter, due up next. She walked in the first, singled in the third, and reached by fielder's choice in the 5th. 1 out away from victory for the Wolves. Here's the pitch. Called strike to get this thing started here in this at-bat. Shoemaker trying to keep Westfield's hope alive. 0-1 to her will be incoming. Here's the pitch. Swung on, and that one's going to get, well, it's going to die right in front of second base, but not before Kelsey Wagner can get to it. A single by Shoemaker. Tying run now at the plate for Westfield. That's Corbett, the left fielder. She had a fielder's reach by fielder's choice back in the first, struck out in the third, and was thrown out after a single in the 5th. Here's a pitch to her. She swings on it, gets it high in the air to right field. It's going to go foul, and no one can get to it. A long strike for Corbett. So 5-3 the score, 2 outs. Runner on first, that's Shoemaker after the single, and Corbett representing the tying run for Westfield at the plate. Very exciting CCAA2 matchup here between Westfield and Clymer-Sherman. Bodemer with the pitch, swung on and missed, and the count goes to 0-2. And with that count, Bodemer is 1 pitch away from putting this thing away if she can get a strike here. Corbett will look to do something completely different and get a piece of this ball. Here's the pitch. She does get a piece high in the field to left field. Tracking and caught there, and the side is retired. Great catch out there in left field made by White, and the Wolves get the win in a very exciting fashion here in Westfield. So for now, at least until Thursday, Clymer-Sherman remains undefeated in a top CCAA Division II. Congratulations to the Wolves on their big win today, and we'll see you back on the sports stream tomorrow for baseball and Thursday for more softball. This has been Josh Hosier with Clymer-Sherman Softball on the 98.9 Sports Stream. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening to this broadcast of Clymer-Sherman Softball on the Channel 98.9 Sports Stream. Presented by Troyer's Greenhouse in Panama, by Whiteland Surveying, Tina Dills, ERA Team VP Licensed Real Estate Agent, Caflisch Pallet and Wood Supply, Triple E Manufacturing, Flicks Heating and Plumbing and Air Conditioning, by Sherman Livestock, and Steve Daniels Electric in Corry. Tune in next time for all the action of Clymer-Sherman Softball play-by-play.